Hello, guys. Welcome to e-learning for this week. Just a reminder, guys, that your tests will be on Thursday, which is tomorrow. The test is going to cover basically what you see on the review guide. There might be a few things thrown in that don't appear on the review guide, but the vast majority of the test will be kind of like based on the questions you see on the review guide. Okay, so it's going to be covering classifications of matter, physical, chemical properties and changes, states of matter, and density. Now, I'm going to cover a few things from the study guide, and after that, there will be an assignment that you see on Canvas. That assignment is just going to have you check some of your answers from the study guide to see if you are correct or not. So, what I want to start with is kind of talking and explain the difference between a few of these things that were on the definitions for classifications of matter. Now, the first difference I want to talk about is elements and compounds. So when we have an element and a compound, the difference is they're both pure substances, but an element only has one type of atom from the periodic table on it. So, for example, if you have sodium, sodium has the formula Na. And so when you see this here, that means there's just one type of atom, therefore this is an element. On the other hand, if we have sodium chloride, which has the formula NaCl, so we look here, we see two capital letters, which means there's two different types of atoms in this chemical, therefore it is a compound, because there's two or more different types of atoms making it up. Next thing I want to talk about is the difference between a heterogeneous and a homogeneous mixture. Okay, so both of those are mixtures, but in a heterogeneous mixture, things aren't evenly mixed and you can see the different parts of them. On the other hand, homogeneous mixtures is something that is very evenly mixed and you can't see the different parts that are mixed together, but you know they are there. So a heterogeneous mixture might be like a pepperoni pizza. You can see the different parts, but they're mixed together. Homogeneous mixture might be like lemonade. So you look at lemonade, you don't see the individual pieces that make up lemonade, you just see one thing, but it's a mixture of different things to make lemonade. So when we look at the three different types of liquid mixtures, we have a colloid, suspension, and solution. A suspension is one with bigger particles that are going to separate into layers. A solution is one that's evenly mixed and will never separate, and it has very small particles. A colloid is kind of a hybrid. It has bigger particles, but those particles will never separate and form layers. Next thing I want to talk about is the difference between physical and chemical change. So a physical change is one that changes the shape or appearance of an object or material, but it is still the same material. So taking water and boiling it, it goes from a liquid water to water vapor. It looks different, but it is still H2O. On the other hand, if you take water and react it and it forms into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, you just had a chemical change. You took it and turned it into a new substance. So chemical change is going to be one where you're taking a material and you're turning it into something new. So taking H2O, water, and turning it into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. The next thing that I want to talk about is kind of the indicators. So we talked about 5 indicators of a chemical change. So change in color, change in odor, change in temperature, formation of a precipitate, and what was the 5th one? Well, I have to go back and look at that. The 5th one, that's right. So change in color, change in odor, formation of a precipitate, and then we also change in temperature, and we also have a formation of gas bubbles. Okay, so those are 5 indicators of a chemical change, and if you see those and we have a material changing, that's a sign that that material is going through a chemical change and you're getting a new product from that. Next thing I want to talk about is atoms themselves. So atoms, if you didn't catch on to this when we looked at states of matter, atoms are in constant motion. It doesn't matter if it's a solid, liquid, or gas. All those atoms are constantly moving, even if you can't see that with your bare eyes. Next thing I want to look at is density. So we're going to look at an example problem for density. All right, so let's say we have an object, and that object has a mass of 180 grams and density of 3 grams per cubic centimeter. What is volume? So in this question, we're trying to find the volume of a particular object. We know its mass, we know its density. So we're going to start by creating our variable list, density, mass, and volume. We know in the problem that the density is 3. We know that the mass is 180. And we know that the volume is what we're trying to solve for. That's our x. So if we plug them into the density equation, which is d equals m over v, the d we replace with the 3, the m we replace with 180, and the v we replace with x. Now, as we look at this, we need x on top by itself, but currently x is on bottom. So we talked about a method that when you have an equation that looks like this and your x is on bottom, we can do a switcheroo. So we can take this 3 and we can switch it with that x. And when we do that switcheroo, we end up with x equals 180 divided by 3, which when we plug that into our calculator, we get x equals 60. And since we solved for volume, volume has the units of milliliters, and therefore that is your answer. All right, so this is just a few things I wanted to cover today in this video, kind of a review to help prepare for the test. Remember, your test is on Thursday, which is tomorrow. What you guys have to do now is there's a Canvas assignment that is basically checking a handful of answers from the study guide. You can take it as many times as you need to make sure you have the correct answers for that on the study guide. Tomorrow when you come into class, I will take any questions you guys have. If we don't have any questions, we'll get started right away on the test. If we have to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes max answering questions tomorrow before the test, I will answer those questions. But anyways, so go ahead, do the Canvas assignment. The Canvas assignment is titled 9-2 Study Guide Check. All right, so go ahead to Canvas, answer those questions, and check some of your answers to the study guide.